This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you for recording. And if I ask you, what are the top 3 potential problems that you usually face with clients? What would you say? You can type on the chat box, or you can give me verbal responses also.
Effective communication.
Okay. More responses, please.
Clear communication.
Right, clear communication. Can you all also please elaborate what do you mean by clear communication? What goes wrong usually?
Basically, we try to communicate something, but client used to understand something else.
Right.
But we are not effectively communicate the concern or whatever in our mind. We are not communicating clearly.
Right. I get that. Can I invite few more responses, please?
Sometimes we will elaborate it in a lengthy way, not in a short form.
Wow. Sometimes we over communicate.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that.
Yes.
More responses?
I think there's also difference in expectations of
Yes.
delivery of the work as well as the resources required.
Lovely. There is difference in expectations. They expect something and we deliver something. And finally, when we go for delivery, they say, this is not we want. Very relatable. Is anybody still holding their response? You can please share it with us before I move on to the next slide. All right. So now I have asked you a question and I thought I will invite responses and I thought you will all tell me the same thing, but it was different. I think I have received more than 2 or 3 responses from all of you, meaning all of you have different experiences with different clients. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So well, in that context, I think I also have one more question. So are we also in the habit of equating the worst problems that we have faced with the profile of the current client? We had a problem in the past with a certain client. So we naturally or automatically assume that that problem is going to repeat with the current client also. Does that happen to you? No?
No.
Anybody who thinks that happens? And I'm very glad to receive a no on that question. Yeah, somebody is saying something.
I said no.
Yeah, yeah. Usually, I also believe from my previous experiences in different sessions, I think people had, expressed a concern where all the time it's natural for them to carry those problems that they faced with one client. And they also tend to assume that those problems might repeat with the current clients. So in that case, I think I will begin my session on that note. It's nice to erase the prejudice that we have against clients. We always use a word in connection with the client. What is that word? Anybody? Is anybody in the habit of calling clients difficult? Do we say that?
Not really. Well, and not in my experience, at least.
I'm glad. So if we are all in the habit of calling clients difficult, I think it's nice to take that word out from the dictionary today. Or at least it is nice to not stereotype clients with the word difficult. So to begin with, no 2 clients are replicas. We need not equate the problems of the previous client to the current one. it's nice to anticipate what might come up, but we need not conclude. We need not end up assuming wrong things. As we begin our journey with a new client, that is the right place to begin. So meaning we have to be open-ended. Or we have to be open-minded. Sorry, open-ended is the wrong word. Open-minded. And like children, we have a lot of clients. But for client, it's like a wife or a husband. We are only one. There's only one vendor for one service, right? And that's the reason the relationship becomes very difficult, I would say, or people are very concerned about the service that we are delivering. On that note, I will also want you all to answer a yes or a no to 3 questions that are coming up next. And you can use the chat box to say a yes or a no, right? I'm going forward. Have your clients ever complained that they're not aware of the status of the project? They're not clearly communicated about the status of the project. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody said yes, I'm glad. And some of you are saying no in the chat box. I'm really glad. Wow. If it's a no, I think it's beautiful. Somebody said yes, yes, no. All right, all right. I'm receiving a lot of no's and I'm glad about it. Going to the second question. Have you ever worked on projects without knowing whom to contact in case of emergency? So these are, the word ever is very important. Have you ever worked on projects without knowing whom to contact in case of emergency? You know, when some kind of a crisis comes up or when some kind of a problem, unexpected problem crops up. Yeah, somebody's saying yes, somebody's saying no, right? Sometimes yes. I'm taking all the responses. Well. And going to the third question. Do you routinely find yourself running from pillar to post to figure out the next step? When I say routinely, it is not every day. Is it usual for you to, be confused about what to do next? What is something that has to be done next? If it's sometimes yes, then it's a yes. Yeah, so somebody is saying sometimes. Somebody said yes. Yeah. Yes, no, sometimes. So, well, the conclusion here, if you have given a yes to at least one of these questions, it means you have to have a strong communication plan for dealing with your clients. And to understand how that communication plan will or should look like, I think we need to go forward. Let me take you all forward. Thank you for your responses. So this is what your communication plan should look like. I think if you answer these 3 questions, you will have a decent communication plan, if not a great one. The first one, who are the most important stakeholders in the project? How do you decide who are the most important stakeholders? What will help you decide? Because there are a lot of people, involved
so
in the
direct
project.
counterparts.
Yeah.
So who are working with them directly? They're the important stakeholders.
Right. The one that's connected with you directly is the most important one. All right. Who else is important?
And the department heads, like we are working in development side, we should know the engineering leaders and all, like to whom we need to report in case of emergency.
Lovely, lovely. On what basis do you decide the important stakeholders? Do you have any any framework that decides how important a person is?
It depends on the structure of the company and the organization structure of the based on the org structure, we can decide like to whom we need to reach out in case of emergency, or if we struck somewhere. So to who will be the right contact to reach out and resolve those things.
Beautifully
So
said.
that way yeah, that way we can find out the important
Yes.
stakeholders. Yes.
Well, here, while answering this question, I think what people usually miss out on is we more often than not communicate only with the person that we are directly connected with or that we're closely associated with. But I think there are more than that person. So in order to understand who are the stakeholders involved, I think it's important to ask them. We cannot actually assume who is important, who is not important. You might want to ask, talk to your client and understand who are all involved in the project. So how interested is a particular person in the project? It's a matter of interest. And the second one in the framework would be influence. How much influence does this person have in this project? It's not interest again, influence is different. Somebody might have the influence to change the length and breadth of your project. So that person is also an important stakeholder. So you have to make sure that the communication reaches that person who has the influence. So, well, two things are over in the framework, interest and influence, and followed by key objectives. What are the key objectives in this project? Who are those people that are affected when the key objectives are achieved or when they are not achieved? Then, depending on that, you can involve them in the communication plan. So those are the people based on how interested a person is in your project. And what is the influence a particular person has on your project, or who has the influence to change the length and breadth of your project, followed by the objectives. When the objectives are achieved, who are influenced? When the objectives are not achieved, who are influenced? These people are also a part of your stakeholders. So you have to have your communication plan, including all of them. Followed by going to the next question. What exactly do you have to communicate to these stakeholders? What is their preferred channel? Do they prefer emails or are they okay with informal communication? How often do you think we need to communicate things to them? All of this will form a part of your communication plan. I will take the question.
Yeah, that's right. Like, so that will be defined like the daily communication. So if we have the preferred channel, they'll ask us to communicate instead of bombarding with number of mails. So we can communicate with them on the group chat channels.
Yes.
So that's the one way. And other way, like as you mentioned, so they will define the channel, like where and when to communicate. It depends on the priority and the severity of the task as well. So
Beautiful.
if it is having low priority, so we don't need to over communicate about those things, so we can simply discuss on the group chats. But if it is really needed, some external communication with the customers and all stakeholders within the organization, for sure we need to send out the emails with the proper templates.
Lovely,
So
rightly said. Rightly said. So, well, when we say what to communicate with the stakeholders, it has one more hidden tip. I think it's important to also understand what to not communicate to the stakeholders. Do you all agree with me? Can we just, pour out all the things to the client? It's important to understand where to stop the flow of information, how much to give them, and what is to not be given to them, where to conceal, what to conceal. You agree, disagree?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yes.
Like only certain things we can communicate with the stakeholders and not everything.
Not everything. So, well, and when to communicate, a few people prefer to have everyday communication. I personally have worked on projects where I was sending out reports every day. And there were different projects where people wanted only weekly communication. Again, that is a preference. You have to ask the preference rather than just assuming, weekly communication is enough. We are sending, communicating with the client once in a week, every Friday, every Tuesday. If that is what is your habit, it, do not just assume that to be the case with every other client. You have to maybe ask them, what is your preferred frequency? How frequently do you think you want to hear from us? And how exactly can we communicate, informally or formally? Do you want a mail? Do you have a particular template that you want us to follow, or we are using this template? Do you want to suggest any corrections? Every little thing is very, very important. And when you ask them their preferences, it is also sending out a message to them that you value their inputs, that you value their interest. So asking for everything is a great idea. So after this communication plan has been crafted, I think I have a question to ask you. So there's this question of warmth or competence. We all understand, right? These are two plain English words, warmth and competence. When it comes to clients, what do you think is nice? You have to be warm to them or competent with them? What works? What is your idea?
Both.
Always should be warm.
Yeah, one of you can please go ahead.
Depends upon the situation.
Right, rightfully said. Depends upon the situation. So now let me break this into two. When do you think you'll all have to be warm to your clients? What are those situations that will demand you to be warm and nice to them?
When they want any help from us or any cooperation from us, so we can be on that point of time we should warm, and
Right.
and when we should competent on in case of any suggestion or any kind of improvement that you might think, you directly communicate to the client that it will be the good idea to
Right.
to communicate the idea all and all. On that point of time, we should be competent.
Right. I will sum up your answer into just one word. I think you said your approach towards them has to be warm. The approach, the way you talk, the way you ask, the way you receive, all of this, you have to ooze warmth. Beautifully said. So now I will ask you one more question. When you're all, let's say, meeting the client for the first time, in the first few meetings, how will you show them? What side will you show them? Will you show your warm side or competent side in the first few interactions?
Warm side.
It should be warm side.
Right. First few interactions, you're going to show your warmth. So then what are a few ways that you can show your warmth with? What ways you can show that? Because
So
you have
at
to,
least-
yeah.
Yeah. So the very first thing, like when starting the conversation, like so you should have to greet them with some pretty good welcoming messages. And
Beautiful.
yeah. So,
A very
and
good
at
onboarding.
the end of the meetings also, like you maybe like greeting someone like that or my thanking them
Right.
for whatever
Right.
the conversation that we had.
Yeah.
Also like the time they have provided. So such type of greetings can help building the
Nice.
relationships better. Yeah, I think.
Well, so you're going to greet them well, and onboarding, you're trying to make it very smooth for them. That's very nice. So maybe I will discuss a few tips. I will also require your responses on how practical and workable they are, and we can discuss. And you can please feel free to disagree with my inputs. It is not that everything works for everybody. So while you are talking to them, I think it's important to have that human connection. It is not that a representative of the vendor is talking to the representative of the client. You are two human beings. You are two human beings. You connected for work. You're connecting with each other to, achieve an objective. They have come to you to buy a service, and you are the person that's providing the service. But apart from that, you are two human beings that are approaching each other. So can we miss out on that human element? Yes or no?
No, from my side.
Yes. So if you have to show that human element, what will you exactly do when you're meeting a client? What kind of talk do you think you will do?
In my case, I always, whenever I had a meeting with my client, I should always speak very politely and always speak on a very polite and always step a smile on my face so that
Wow.
they are easily communicate or whatever they're trying to communicate to us.
Nice, beautiful.
Not in a serious face and all that
Right,
they might it will give a negative vibes to them.
rightly said, rightly said. So, well, this question of warmth or competence is a very, very big question, which has an elaborate answer. So, if you ask me whether it is warmth or competence, I will say it's a balance. All of us have to strike a balance when we are connecting with anybody with respect to work. And a few ways of being warm to them are approaching them with small talk. When I mean small talk, it is not definitely restricted to climate, weather, or celebrations, the hobbies, interests. It can be professional small talk also. Professional small talk can go around things like you might refer to the awards that the company has received. You can follow their social media channels and talk about the updates. You can talk about how they have achieved things and how that surprised you, or how you're all in awe of them being doing so well. And you can talk about new emerging trends in the market. What is happening in the market? How is a new technology or tool taking over everything? If you think they are catering to a particular kind of a customer base, you can talk about the interests and the preferences of their customers, which means you're also telling them that you know their business. So your small talk can happen around all of these things in order to build that connection. So when people say small talk, it need not necessarily be about climate, films, hobbies, and things like that. You can do small talk even about the company's other happenings also. So always be warm to them while approaching, because warmth can definitely create the best first impression. You cannot create a first impression by talking numbers. Of course, numbers are great. I'm not saying numbers are not important, but you have to create a first impression by being warm. Agree, disagree?
Agree.
Thank you so much. Going forward, we'll also see ways in which we have to come across as competent to them. There's something called as elevator pitch. Heard of this one?
No, I haven't.
Well, elevator pitch is usually a short and a powerful introduction that you give to people when you meet them for the first time. And specifically, it's very important in business context. When you're trying to sell somebody a product, service, or an idea, when you're trying to influence somebody, when you're trying to persuade somebody to buy your idea, elevator pitches become very important. So have you all been in loss of words when you have to introduce yourself? Can you think of those situations? You do your work so well, but when it comes to articulating and presenting it to somebody, we find a loss of words. Yes or no? I'm getting some responses on the chat box. People are saying yes. Yes. So, well, elevator pitch is that short and brief or powerful introduction, which talks about what you are and what matters to the client. What is the work that you have done that will help you resolve the challenge that the client has come to you with? That is elevator pitch for you. So it can go for a maximum of 30 seconds, and you can highlight the work that you have done, the tools, technologies, the skill set that you possess, and the kind of industry that you have worked with, the kind of work that you have done. All of this can go as a part of an elevator pitch. Elevator pitch need not just be about yourself. It can also be about your company. It can also be about the product or service that you are trying to sell to the client, that you are trying to deliver to the client. So there's huge information available on the web about crafting an elevator pitch, or we might also do a different session in the future about how to craft a perfect elevator pitch, and that's not relevant now. That said, I will tell you there is no perfect elevator pitch, because after talking about elevator pitch, people come up with a lot of requests asking for a perfect elevator pitch. I'll tell one statement. Can you have just one tailor-made elevator pitch for everybody and for every situation? Yes or no? Yeah, somebody said, no, it depends on the situation. Well, yes, I will agree with the same. Every time we cannot use the same elevator pitch. It needs to change from time to time. It needs to change from context to context. That's very important. And your elevator pitch also has to highlight how you are unique. It has to highlight your unique selling proposition. That is very important. And when you give such a powerful introduction, will you come across as warm or competent? Does a powerful introduction show your warmth or competence? Yeah, somebody said competence. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Yes. So a powerful introduction shows people that you are competent, meaning they understand that they can rely on you. They know that that you are dependable, and your credibility comes across to them as visible. Going forward, people use this term a lot. You have to be client focused, right? Have you heard of this term before? You have to be client focused. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So what does this mean? What is client focus? What is the meaning of client focus?
Meeting the requirements of the client.
Okay, meeting the requirements.
And also we should know like always what they need from us.
What they need from you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hypothetical situation. Let us say you are going to meet a client, right? So what does the client come to you with?
They'll come up with a requirement.
Yeah, they'll come up with a requirement. If anybody is in the habit of saying the client comes with a problem, the client comes with a challenge, I think it's nice to erase those words. We will not call them problems or challenges. Let us from now on call them requirements or needs. That's, I think, a better word to use. So they come to you with a set of needs or with a set of requirements, right? What are we going to the table with? They are coming with needs. Very nice. So what are we going with?
Solution.
We are going with a solution. Beautiful. So they have the needs and we have the solution. Beautifully said. So now let me ask you all the question once again. When you are client focused, or if you call yourself client focused, what is something that you discuss on that table? What will you discuss? Yeah, the client has come to the table with a set of needs and we have gone there with solution. If you are to be called client focused, what will you discuss on that table? Any answers? Yeah, somebody has answered it on the chat box. So to call yourself client focused, I think it's important to discuss needs, nothing else. Of course, we have a solution. Let me ask you all a different question now. So you said you're going to the table with solution, right? So without understanding the needs of the client, how can you say that this is the solution for you? If you say this is a solution, do you think that's going to be a right solution for them?
I think you would have to give them options like
Beautifully said. That's a big process. Let us explore that process a little further. So, well, that's a question of needs versus solution. But if you want to call yourself client focused, before anything else, you will talk needs, you will understand needs, you will discuss needs, you will use the language of the client, that is needs. Right? In order to understand the needs really well, like I began today's session, you are going to eliminate all the prejudices from your mind. You're not equating the problems of the previous client to the current client. You are not going there with a belief system that this client might be this client could be this. So that prejudice has to be erased, followed by you have to listen without the filter. So what is this filter? What filter affects you when you're listening to the client?
That will over dominate the reality.
Okay, over dominate the reality. Okay, you have come closer to the answer. Maybe a little simple language, if you can help us with.
A false assumption, I can say.
Yeah, exactly. We listen with this filter of giving a solution to the client. Yes, whatever he's saying, let him say, I have come to the table with a perfect solution. I will give him the solution. So we listen with an urge to present them with the perfect solution that we have carried. And we are not interested in knowing their needs, in understanding their needs, and in discussing their needs. That is the filter that affects us while we meet the client. So in order to listen to them well, we have to take that filter out. I'm not having any solution. I will come to the solution. I will come to understand a solution only after listening to them, after understanding, after maybe discussing. So going forward, after they start saying something, what we usually do is when they pause, we step in. When they kind of start thinking, we fill the blank. We add what we have in our mouth. So then the need is half theirs and half ours. We are not giving them a chance to complete. You want to agree, disagree? Can you imagine such situations that happened in the past? Yes or no? I'm having a few responses on the chat box. Yeah, biases. Somebody said biases. Well, usually this happens. We fill the blanks. We listen to give a solution, not to understand, followed by when you think the client is not articulate enough, the client is not giving you enough information, you can ask a question to help the client become unstuck, to help the client get unstuck. A question to which he gives a crisp, a short answer, and that is your need. And that is the need for you. And that is the one that you will craft the solution for. The kind of a question that helps him get unstuck. If you think you have insights, you can give insights. So the entire thing, I think I will give you all a hypothetical situation. Let us say you're all going to a garment store, right? Don't tell me we buy on Myntra, we buy online, we buy on Amazon. I know we have come to buy stuff online a lot more than, we usually, a lot more than visiting the stores, physical stores. But yes, let us say you've gone to a physical store. And this is a traditional store where there's a salesman and he's selling you stuff. And you're asking him for a shirt, right? Is he going to give you give you one shirt and will you go to bill it in the billing counter?
No, probably they'll ask what color you're looking for, what size, and they will inquire about your needs.
A lot of questions. What color? What size? What's the purpose? Do you want a formal shirt or an informal shirt? What material? Cotton or something else? Can you all imagine the number of questions that the person is going to ask you? And let's say he's not asking you any questions. Let's say he's going to get you a shirt. Do you think you will like that shirt? Will you take that shirt to the billing counter? Yes or no?
No.
Probably not.
Probably not. Definitely not. Definitely not. Because the picture in your mind and the product that the salesperson is giving to you, they will definitely never match. I can bet on this. They will not match 100%. And that is the reason salespeople are trained to elicit needs from the mouths of the customers. And that is exactly what all of us have to do in order to understand clients' needs. This is a whole science in itself. All you can do is provide insights. Insights, again, I'll take the same example. You can talk about how this particular shirt is very absorbent. You know, when a person comes, let's say I'm talking like a salesperson in a garment store, in an apparel store. So this is a light color. So I think a lot of formal, as in, you know, if you want to use it for office wear, these colors will go well. Or a lot of office goers buy these kind of shirts. And maybe this shirt, we're selling it at a 30% discount for 1 month for now. And things like that. Any insights that will help the client make an informed decision. That will help the client understand his own need. That will help the client get unstuck. All of those are insights. You are not giving him a one-stop solution. You're only giving him insights. You're asking him questions to help him unstuck. So that is all about being client focused. Do not bombard, do not shoot the client with the solution that you have, because the solution that you have can never match the client's needs. You have to understand, tell them that you understand their needs, and then empathize, and then followed by discussing on the solution, and then finalizing the solution, work on the solution. That is the process. But in reality, we always, you know, fill the blanks and we assume that those are the client's needs. We start working on them, and finally the end product is something else. It becomes a lot of drama. You understand my point? Anybody has something to say here? Differ, add, ask questions. Nothing to say? Well, I'm going forward. Well, and that's exactly what's called as being client focused. And conducting an effective meeting is also very important. I will not take you in detail through all these steps one by one, but I think a few things that we need to focus on while conducting a meeting is to understand the purpose and the agenda. What is purpose and what is agenda?
The purpose would be the goal of the meeting, and
Lovely.
the agenda, like the steps on how to achieve that goal.
As simple as that, as crisp as that.
Yes, that's right.
So for every other meeting, do you and your clients, the opposite party, do you exactly know what the purpose of the meeting would be? Or you just get on a meeting and decide the purpose after getting onto the meeting?
No, we'll
no.
know the purpose of the meeting always.
Lovely. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. To have on paper, you know, if possible, on digital paper, I'm not talking about a physical paper. Maybe if you communicate what the purpose of the meeting is to the clients, it will help them come up with structured thoughts. It will also help your own team to go to them with proper questions if you have any. And the same thing on the opposite side. They will come up with structured opinions and proper questions to ask and clarify. So purpose is very important. Following the agenda is very important as well. Have at least a 3-pointer agenda for each meeting that you're going to be a part of, and make sure that you follow the agenda and come up with what to do after the meeting. Do not ever close the meeting without understanding what is to be done and who's going to do what. That's very important. Followed by, there's something called time check, which is very important. And we are hearing a word called Zoom fatigue these days, you know, so much. It's a buzzword. So what is this time check? How do you think that will help you and the team of clients?
So to fulfill the agenda, like what we have planned for that meeting, and did we cover all the points or not?
Yes.
So the time check will definitely help us.
Yeah, yeah. So while beginning or, towards when you're approaching the meeting, you can just say this meeting has been planned for this many minutes. So I think we're going to discuss these points. I'm sure you all would be available for so much time. And today we have made up this much time to talk to you. So please confirm once again that they're going to be available for 30 minutes or for 45 minutes. Doing this will definitely help them understand that you're disciplined. If you sit there and talk for hours together, it shows people that you're not planned or, you don't structure your time so well. And it also makes it clear for them that you don't value time. Every minute counts. You want to agree, disagree?
Right.
Yeah, agree.
Yes, time check is very, very important. Though we schedule it on whatever is the meeting format we use, whatever is the calendar that we use, we schedule it for half an hour or an hour probably. But I think checking on people's availability before beginning the meeting is also very important. It shows them that you value time. So these two quick tips while conducting an effective meeting. Coming to objections. When people come up with objections, what is something that bothers you? This is one big discussion. So when people say they have feedback for you or they have objections, how does it affect you? You will not be affected at all. Do not say that. I will make a statement. Yeah, sorry, somebody's saying something. Please go ahead.
No, I was going to say that this is a very difficult question, I think. Like, if I would just think about, okay, if someone objects my idea or something, then I would feel like, okay, the time I invested probably would have been for nothing or something like that.
Right, right. So yes, it is not a very nice feeling when people come up with objections. Why do you think that happens? Why are we not open for criticism, or why are we not open for objections? Any idea?
Sometimes it's ego.
It's ego.
Sometimes we are full of confidence, and maybe that also affects us.
Right. So we're just confident that our design or our work is the best work ever and nobody can talk about it. Rightly said. What else? So if I say it is natural for us to not like criticism, do you want to agree, disagree?
Agree.
Yeah, it's very natural. You don't have to call yourself primitive or egoistic or something else. It is natural for human brains to be averse to criticism. We get into a flight or fight mode. We either want to escape or we want to hit back. That is how our human brains are wired for criticism. And once you know this, it will become easy for us to deal with such kind of situations. So yeah, I think I have good news. That's natural. You don't have to be worried about it. It's a very natural. But yes, learning to handle that is very important, particularly in business. So show people that you are open for objections. Do not defend, or you don't have to maybe argue, get into an argument, or try and explain them how your design is the best one or how your work is the best work. You need not get into a defensive mode. You can just say, yes, we are open for discussion. We are taking your objections. Please come on. And when you show that, when you're smiling, when you're taking them, when you have a paper and a pen, when you're noting them down, they will definitely be at ease. You know why? just like receiving criticism, giving criticism or, sharing objections is not an easy task. You want to agree, disagree?
Agree.
Yeah. So they will have their head full of emotions like, oh my God, one more objection. How will I tell them? How are they going to receive it? I don't think they will be happy and all of that. So when you say it's okay, we are here to take your objections, I think it eases them. They will be able to present their objections without much tension, fear, or stress. So it becomes a conversation, it becomes a smooth conversation. And then I'll make one more statement and you have to again feel free to agree or disagree with me. Objections are needs in disguise. Yes or no? Objections are needs in disguise.
Yeah.
So people object only when they think that a particular product or service is not meeting their requirements the way they expected. That is when they will have an objection. So technically, logically, objections are needs in disguise. They might come up with cost concerns or creative concerns or maybe progress concerns. All of those are needs in disguise. And when you listen to them, it will become easy for you to spot what their need exactly is. And then we can do the entire cycle, the cycle that we did before, listening to them, offering insights, asking questions, discussing the solution, and then finalizing on one solution that fits their needs. So the entire cycle can go on even when they're coming and telling you the objections. So that is how we can handle objections. Avoid resistance at all costs. Please do not get into a defense mode. You can be open to receiving objections. And when it gets on your head, when it becomes too much, because there is always just one more change. Have you been in this situation? We do umpteen number of changes, umpteen number of revisions, and then they have one more.
Yeah, or sometimes after you have worked on something, then the requirements change, and then you need to go back. And
Yes. So I really want to appreciate for adding this valuable input. Their requirements change, and you might want to go back all the way. So I think here I will use a popular saying, prevention is better than cure. So in order to prevent this going back altogether, it's nice to keep them informed. If possible, you can write to them. What are you agreeing upon? And what have we agreed upon? And you can have weekly status checks once in a while. Let us say they're coming to us and ordering a whole meal, right? In a meal, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of components. So after we finish cooking the entire meal, if we present it to them, they will definitely have concerns. Wherein after kind of cooking or making every other item on the meal, I think it's nice to show them. We're done with this part. We're done with the next part. We're done with this part. And we're constantly checking with them. A weekly status check, a weekly discussion, a weekly revision maybe. All of that will help you prevent. Even if you do all of this, there are situations where you will have to land in a difficult conversation where people will come up with just one more change. So in a difficult conversation, again, what is something that affects you in a difficult conversation? What makes a difficult conversation even more difficult?
When we don't have a grip on the project or the technologies.
Yes, when we don't agree with them. When we don't agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think anger, frustration. I'll use just one word. Our emotion is something that makes a difficult conversation more difficult. So when you're angry,
Nervous.
Yeah, you're angry or nervous. Yes, all of that, all of that. And you're stressed as a result of that. So it's good to involve other stakeholders, bring people, ask for advice. And I said we're going to have a communication plan. So a communication plan not only involves the people on the opposite side, it also involves the people on our side. Who will I talk to when the situation is critical? Will I have to take all the stress on my own head? Who is something that will help me out of it? What is the information that I am going to give that person? Will I tell my emotions to him? Will I tell what I am going through? All these questions you have to answer yourself wisely. And it's nice if you can keep all of it transparent. So please do not assume that you will have to handle all of it together. Your hero image will not go down if you ask for help. Asking for help is a strength and it's not a weakness. And not any communication coach in the world can give you an ideal solution for a difficult situation, because an ideal solution does not exist. At the most, we can minimize the damage and restore the working conditions by agreeing upon mutual terms. And all of this we will have to do by keeping all the emotions at bay. In order to keep the emotions at bay, we need to take help from other stakeholders, the internal stakeholders. Because you will definitely be surprised by what people have to offer you. If you ask them, only then you're giving them an opportunity to help you. And then you will be surprised with the kind of help you will receive. If you're not talking to people, if you're not open for advice, you will keep stressing about it, and you will definitely not be able to figure out a solution, because when you keep it to yourself, you only have one perspective. When you share, I think there are a lot more perspectives. And let me assert, your hero image will not go down when you ask for help. That's one thing. Yeah, the way to, kind of handle a difficult discussion. That said, we have come to the end of the day's session. Every other client will want a partner from its vendor, not just a vendor. So every time you think something is getting critical, you will have to walk in their shoes and then understand what you have to offer them in that situation. And this will help you all become more transparent, and the client will definitely have the trust in you. He will think you are a partner and not just an agency. You are a part of their team. You are a part of their requirement. You are a part of their plan, their life, all of that. And you're just not a representative of the vendor. So become a part of their life, and that is how you will show them that you are a partner, not just an agency. That's a wrap, and let me take you all through the communication plan. So if you already do not have a strong communication plan, this is where you're going to start. How do I communicate with individual stakeholders? Who are all the individual stakeholders? Who is involved in this project? Am I leaving out on somebody? To understand who are all involved, I have to ask the client, and I have to take all the names and their email IDs in order to keep them in loop. Followed by, how will I communicate to them? How, meaning the words, the language, the tone, the mode of communication, the frequency, all of this is how. Every other person who is working on your project will have to understand this. How will I communicate? Followed by, when in emergency, when people come up with undue objections, when people come up with baseless objections, how will I deal? How are we going to deal? Who's going to help us? People should understand whom they should run to in need, in crisis. Very important. One little quick tip. I said warmth or competence, right? There is one quick tip that we can discuss. You can follow if you want. If you want your clients to have a great first impression, I think it's nice to share the profiles of your team with them to begin with a picture and a small write-up. We spoke about elevator pitch, right? So that can become a written version, and the entire profile can go to your clients. So they know that, experienced and skilled people are working on their project. They know who is working and what their skills are. That's another nice tip to build a nice rapport with them and to start off on a great note. Well, I've been talking for a long time now. Questions, agreement, disagreement, open now, question time. And a few resources that I would want to suggest. It starts with clients, one of the very popular books in dealing with clients. And the other one, What Clients Really Want. These two beautiful books have helped me understand a little bit of client communication. Any questions you all have to ask me? You want to disagree, agree with something? I know it's Friday and late in the evening.
I'm good. Thank you for your tips. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, me too. No questions from my side. And thank you very much for the session.
Yes.
Yeah, even I don't have any question from my side.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And that's a wrap. Have a nice
Yeah.
evening, everyone. And if it's day for you, have a nice day ahead. And happy weekend to all of you. Thank you so much for making it to the
Thank you
session
so
late
much.
on Friday evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Murli. Thank you so much.
Happy weekend.
Thank you.